Hello everybody, my name is Tyre and welcome to my second project. Anyways, so basically my second project is a touchless doorbell, as you can see. Basically in these COVID times, I don't want anybody touching my doorbell because firstly, it would not be safe for me or for them because the main way COVID actually transmits from one person to another is by touch. So basically, if let's say a screwdriver and some type of virus, I set it down, then it'll be on the table. I touch the table on my hands. I touch this on this, and then I touch this, it'll be on this. So it just kind of spreads everywhere like that. So basically, for that reason, I have made a touchless doorbell for which if people just put their hand far away from the sensor, or a little bit close to the sensor, then it will ring the doorbell. So basically, as you can see, one of the most prominent features is this microcontroller over here, which is an Arduino. So basically, if you recall from my last video, I have used a photoresistor to see if somebody has put their hand beside. But then it was a hand wash timer, so it was very near to the sink, which has a lot of light. But then if I were to put that outside, then basically there wouldn't be enough light basically for the photoresistor to react and work properly, right? So basically for that reason, I have used a sonar sensor. So basically what the sonar sensor does is that it will send out a sound wave, basically send out a sound wave that's very high in frequency, so we cannot hear right now, even though it's sending a sound wave every second or so. Actually multiple sound waves every second or so. And basically whenever the sound wave hits an object, it gets reflected back. So let's say a sound wave would hit this, then it'll kind of go and reflect back like that. Right? So basically the reflected ray is actually directed right back to this because of the way, because the sound wave goes like this, it hits back and it goes straight back to it. Sorry, I'm putting my hand too close, it's activating again and again. But anyways, it goes and reflects back same direction. So basically what happens is once it reflects back in the same direction, this module, this HR04 a sonar sensor module, can actually capture it and then tell how much time it took for the round trip, which means that to go for one, it will be divided by 2. So let's say that it took 12 seconds for the whole thing to come back. That's a very long time, but then let's just use a random number. It took 12 seconds to go to some place and come back, which means that to go to that object, it took about 6 seconds. It's 12 over 2, 6 seconds. So basically once it comes back, basically this module will tell the Arduino that basically for the whole round trip, it took 12 seconds. After that, the Arduino divides that time by 2 to get 6 seconds. Now, we need to know the distance from it so that we know that if it's close enough, it'll activate, just like it did right now. So basically, if one knows the speed of sound, which is approximately 340 meters per second, they can easily calculate the distance by using the time it took to get there, or basically go to the object, which is the round trip over 2, and then you do some calculations, and then the time for one trip there, and basically the speed of sound, one can calculate the distance from the sensor to the object. So basically the Arduino asks the sensor, okay, how much time did it take, and then divides it by 2, and then it says, okay, I'm going to do some calculations to find out how much distance it took. After that, it basically checks the distance. It's 8 centimeters. Then it activates the relay. So basically the relay is an electrical switch. So basically there's 3 ports. One is a common port, and then basically the other 2, basically the relay or the common port is connected to one other port, which is either on the right or left side, and then when the relay turns on, it is connected to the other port, right? So basically that was like a really brief overview. For that, I'll explain it in the next part in a little bit more detail. So basically the relay can be used to activate any electrical object because it's like an electrical switch by itself. For example, it can be used to activate a fan or a light bulb, anything. right? So basically that's what a relay does. So if I were to hook this up to a doorbell, then as soon as I bring my hand close, basically the relay activates and it would activate the doorbell as well. So that's how it works. So basically you can see that when I do this, you'll actually hear a sound of it activating. So basically you heard it activating and deactivating because the relay has an electromagnetic switch inside. So basically when there's being current sent to it, the switch flips, and then after that, when the current is taken away, you see the switch goes back to its original place. That's how it works. So basically, that's like a brief overview of this project. And okay, so basically in the next part, we're just going to look at each of the components in detail and how I've connected them to the Arduino. So let's get into that. Where basically I'll explain every single part that's in this circuit setup right over here. So the first part is the relay. So basically, as I've already explained, the relay is an electrical switch, which will basically, according to if the power is on or off, 2 ports will be connected and 2 ports will not be connected. And I can actually show you. So basically, I have a multimeter over here. And basically what this multimeter can do is that if 2 ports are connected, it will ring a bell. I'll show you. Pretty sure you can hear that. So basically this means that the 2 parts are connected. So right now, when I try these two, you don't hear a bell, which means that it's basically the middle one is the common port, which means that it can either be connected to the left one or the right one. So basically you can see that the common port is not connected to the left one right now, but then it is connected to the right one when basically when the relay is not getting power. And basically when the relay does get power, you will see that this green light actually turns on. So let me show you. Once I would attempt to turn on the green light you will see that now it has started ringing because the green light is on. So basically when I'm detecting these 2 ports and it is ringing, if I were to keep a constant object, something like this one, over this sensor, then you'll see that it's always on, which means that it's going to connect. So basically you can see that these 2 are connected, and basically these 2 would not normally be connected if the green light wasn't on, which means that nobody's near the doorbell. So you can see that you can see that these 2 are not connected now, which means that nobody's near the doorbell. But then if these 2 are connected, that means that somebody's putting their hand in front of the doorbell. So basically that is how a relay functions. So basically you can use this to turn on fans depending on whatever is happening. So then the next part is the sonar sensor over here. So you can see that the sonar sensor, it looks a little bit like a speaker, I know, but basically it will it is constantly sending out sound waves right now, once per second, or basically a couple of sound waves. I think 8 or 10 very, very short sound waves per second, and basically you can see it sending it every second. You can't really see it, but actually nor can you hear it because they're very, very high frequencies. Actually nobody can hear it, but then basically they're actually sending out sound waves, and then basically the sound wave is reflected off an object. Let's say this screwdriver over here. You can see that's reflected off, and then you saw the relay turned off. How? Well, basically, whenever sound is reflected off an object, this sonar module actually detects it, and then basically it will give you the time taken. So you can see I have a couple of pins that are connected over here. Actually, this wire is actually the positive power for it. After that, we see this other wire, this red wire, which is the ground, which means that is basically current flows from this wire to this wire through the whole module, and then the cycle keeps on repeating. After that, we see two other wires in the middle, the black wire over here, and then this other green wire. So basically, the black wire is an echo pins wire. So basically, what the echo pin does is that it will tell you if a sound wave has come back and then how much time the sound wave took to come back. So when I do this, it will. So basically, when I do this, a sound signal is being sent, and then as soon as the sound signal is being sent, basically the echo pin, as soon as something reflects, the Arduino checks if something is reflected, and then it tells the echo pin, oh hey, is something reflected? And the echo pin says, yeah, and then it took this much time is what the echo pin will say to the Arduino. And then basically send the sound wave signals by itself. There's a trigger pin which will send the sound wave signals. So basically that trigger pin is being activated every single second so that it can check if anybody has come to the doorbell or not, right? So every single second the trigger pin is activated, which means that it's sending a sound signal. After that, if it hasn't been reflected by something, the echo pin comes back, and the Arduino says, "Hey, did something reflect?" And the echo pin says, "Yeah." And then this is how much time it took, and then the Arduino will basically using the time and then the speed of sound, which is around 340 meters per second. It can calculate how much distance has been, or basically the total distance from the sensor to the object, and basically if that distance is less than 8 centimeters, then you'll see that the relay turns on. So that is precisely how it works. So basically with all that information, you can basically, if you were to connect a couple of more wires to the relay and then connect that up to the doorbell, this would actually function. Basically, subsequently, I will actually show the video. Okay, so the next part is just going to be me explaining the code. So yeah. So basically, this is the part where I read the code of my touchless doorbell project. So basically, starting from line 1, you see that we have an int relay pin, which is pin number D8 on the Arduino. After that, we have an echo pin, which is pin number D10. And then we have my trig pin, which is pin number D9. So basically whenever you activate the trig pin, it will actually send out signals, or basically it will send out the sound waves, and then basically when you deactivate it, it will stop sending out the sound waves. After that, the echo pin will be used to check how much time it has been since the sound wave has traveled and made a round trip actually. So basically, to get the time at an or basically at one time, we need to divide that round trip power, or basically that round trip duration, by 2. So basically, moving on to the setup function, which is a function that only runs once, you can see that it says pin mode relay pin output, which means that I'm telling the Arduino that the relay pin is basically the relay pin is an output pin, which means that I'm sending signals to it, not reading signals from it, and basically the relay pin is where my relay is connected. After that, we have one more pin mode function, which is trig pin output, which means that my trigger pin, I will be sending signals to the trigger pin, telling it to send sound signals, and basically I'm not going to be reading anything from it. After that, we say we have pin mode echo pin input, which means that the echo pin, I will be reading signals from the echo pin, not sending anything to it. After that, we see that we have a serial begin 115200, which is for debugging purposes. After that, we see a digital write relay pin high, which means that I'm telling the relay pin to turn off, actually, in this case. So basically there's something weird with the relay going on, which means off, like basically high means off and low means on, but then that's only for the relay, so it's a little bit confusing there. After that, I move on to this second function, which is the float calculate distance. So basically this value returns a float, this function returns a float. So basically you can see the first function says digital write trig pin low, which means that I first turn off the trig pin, and after that I put a 2 microsecond delay. After that, you see that I have a digital write trig pin high, which means that I'm turning on the trig pin. After that, waiting for 10 microseconds, and then turning off the trig pin again. So basically line number 20 to 22 will actually send out these signals. You see the sound signals. After that, we have a double duration. A double is just a very big float or a very big decimal number. So basically you see the special function pulse in echo pin comma high. So basically this this pulse in function will actually give me the time it took for the sound wave to make the round trip from that object and back. After that, we see this float distance, which is a decimal number. Float is a decimal number, which is actually my duration multiplied by 0.034/2. That is just some calculations to calculate the distance from the sensor to the object. After that, I'm returning the distance. Moving on to the loop function. So basically the loop function will run every single time in the Arduino. So basically you can see if a float distance is equal to calculate distance. So basically whatever distance value I get over here, I'm setting it to distance. After that I check if my distance is less than 8 centimeters. So basically this calc distance will return my value in centimeters. Obviously I'm checking if it's less than 8 centimeters, and then basically I am turning the relay on and then waiting for 1 second so that the doorbell can ring. After that, as you can see, I have a statement called serial.println distance, which means that it's printing to a debug console that is only available in the Arduino IDE. After that, I wait for 1 more second because I do not want to overload the Arduino from reading from the module again and again and again, because that's going to take up a lot of current, and basically the module also might get fried. So then after that, after those 2 seconds wait, I actually turn off the relay pin, and basically this piece of code keeps on running forever. So basically this code is publicly available on github.com/Mr. Who's the Coder Guy /touchless doorbell. So you can look at it there. Thank you.